Thank you, everyone, for joining me today with Peggy Haslach to discuss, I think, a really relevant topic for everyone: 6 actions to help your business stand the test of time. In good times and bad, you want to believe that your company has durability. And that's really what we're going to be talking with Peggy about today. And I'm Linda Fisk. I'm the CEO of LeadHERship Global, and I am absolutely thrilled to welcome all of you to the program today. LeadHERship Global is the most impactful community of extraordinary women in the world, and we unleash the full potential of high-performing and growth-oriented leaders in a confidential, supportive, and private community. LeadHERship Global helps members accelerate their success by defining their vision, growing their leadership, expanding their influence, and leaving a lasting legacy. If you'd like to know more about this remarkable community of women that lead across business, entertainment, and politics, please reach out. Now, today's topic, I think, is incredibly impactful. In fact, over the past 20 months, we've all heard the dismal news about women in the workplace. It's called the she-cession. It's literally historic records of women that have left the workplace. It's really alarming when you see the number of women that are leaving leadership positions. But what's not being reported is the number of women-owned businesses that are opening up every single day in the US, and how that growth is continuing to prove how our economy can be resilient on the skill and the expertise of female business owners. In fact, businesses that are being positioned correctly have survived, and some have even thrived during this pandemic. How did they do that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today: the actionable steps to secure your business even in extraordinarily trying times. So today, Peggy Haslach, the financial advisor with the Finity Group, will explain how your business can stand the test of time even in the most challenging economic conditions. Now, first, let me tell you just a little bit about Peggy. She earned her BA in economics from Stanford University, not such a slouch university. And she earned a certificate in project management from San Diego State University. She holds her FINRA Series 7, her Series 66. She's insurance producer certified and chartered life underwriter designated expert, CLU expert. In 2009, Peggy left behind a 23-year career in corporate management to start her own senior move management and project management consulting business. In 2013, at the early age of 53, she made a career change when she saw firsthand the effects of life events on women's financial security. And she realized that women want a more collaborative, more educational approach to planning. And she realized that there were actually very few female financial advisors and financial advisors who could relate to the different planning needs of women and LGBTQ. So we are super excited to welcome Peggy. Peggy, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Barb and Maggie, for the work that Purse Strings has done and you to pull this all together. I'm excited for this.
All right, so Peggy, we are ready for you to jump on in and help train and educate. So
okay,
you're right. This is due to our amazing, exciting partnership with Purse Strings, and we've talked a little bit about Barbara and Maggie being our partners in Purse Strings, who bring forth the amazing experts within Purse Strings like Peggy, who are financial advisors. And Peggy, we can't wait to learn more about the 6 action steps to help our businesses thrive, even during challenging times.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And Linda, you asked the question of how do these businesses that survived the pandemic, and where are these businesses that survived the pandemic? Well, they're here. And I believe that how they did this was that it has to do with how women plan and how they work together. And in working with my clients, who are typically professionally licensed practice and business owners, I found that there are 6 things that you can do to put yourself on the path to financial and personal growth. So grab a piece of paper, because what we're going to talk about or discuss is how you can be crystal clear about growing your business. And when you're done, if you need a weekend away to think, ponder, write, crystallize your plan, schedule it now. Are you ready to go? Okay. First is a question. What is that one big goal that drives you? You know, that Simon Sinek, find your why, if you can believe it, you can see it or achieve it goal. Have you ever asked somebody a question and their answer sounds good, but you can tell they don't own it? You want to own this, and it needs to be your clear vision of your business in your own words. So action step number 1, take time to write down your vision. Describe it in a way a 6-year-old would understand it. If a vision board is your gig, do it. Whatever it is, keep it front and center. I personally have it on, right here, I have my journal and my vision board on my phone. So every time I unlock my phone, I'm reminded of my goals. There's a little hack on that one. Okay. Second question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, at age 65? What does your business look like? How many clients do you have? Or more specifically, how many ideal clients do you have? Do you have employees? If so, how many? What benefits do you want for yourself and them? Do you want to offer them health insurance? Do you want to offer them a retirement plan? I'm asking this because what you do here might find and retain the person who will help you answer the next question. What do you want to do with your business? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to transfer it to a family member or not? Have you set up a succession plan? It's never really too early to start talking about the end of your business. Now, a really important question. What happens if you hit a bump in the road? Does your spouse want to run your business? I know my spouse doesn't want to have anything to do with my business. So that's an absolute no. And do you want them to? Again, that's an absolute no. So if you don't have these things in place and something should happen to take you out of your business tomorrow, then what do you do? What do you have in the way of life insurance, disability, and long-term care insurance? Now, I'm a financial advisor, so I always ask this question. And often when I talk to new business owners, when I ask this question, I get this answer. No, I don't think I need it. I don't make enough money. I don't have kids. I figured I just don't need it. I can tell you who that business owner talked to about their planning. It was someone who was not seeing her as a business owner. When I talk to a business owner, they know why they have these things in place and what they're meant to do. And if COVID, and I live in the state of Washington, and we have a long-term care mess that is happening. And if that taught us anything, is we're planning for when your business does make enough money and when you do have income to protect. And it's good to get these things in place while you're young, because it's not guaranteed you're going to get them later. And it's not just getting these things in place, it's learning how they work in your plan or what you need to do if you can't get something in place. Again, this Washington long-term care piece taught me a lot about how women business owners are approaching this. And recently, I received a referral from a client who we tried to get some insurances in place, and we found out she was uninsurable. So she went out and she introduced me to her friend. And she came back and she said, we have similar practices, and we're going to set up a plan to step into each other's practice if we need to. So they decided they're going to be each other's emergency plan. That's not a bad idea, and that's exactly what you want to do. So action step number 2, plan your route, expect to hit bumps and detours. They might take you on a road that's a little tougher, or they may even offer you a scenic view. Question number 3, who is with you on your adventure? And I'm talking about professionals you pay, not your friends or people who want a favor. I have this little saying, I say, do what you do best and hire the rest. And I'm a financial advisor, but still the main people that I like to look at for first and foremost are CPAs, enrolled agents or bookkeepers. And then having the legal people, because I don't do law stuff and I don't do the legal, so the business attorneys and the estate planning attorneys to help me with that portion of my business. Find your squad of like-minded professionals. Collaborate with these professionals in ways you can complement what they do. This is exactly why I'm excited about this arrangement with the purse strings and LeadHERship Global. And that's also why I'm a member of Females in Finance, the W Source, and we have a group here in Seattle called the F-Bomb Breakfast Club. There are so many successful women that teach me new things every day. And prior to the call, we were talking about a lot of women just don't know there are other businesswomen that are like them. And organizations and finding groups like this make this world a lot smaller. So when you meet with these individuals, think of what you can do or you can offer them first. So you're having a conversation, but you don't want the conversation to be where you pick your brain or you expect them to give you a referral. It's more, how can we go out together and conquer the world with this? So share your end game with them and work with pros who sell plans, not product. Again, I can tell you how many business owners I've met that were sold a product instead of, say, for example, a retirement plan. When their business grows, they ask the question, okay, I went out and got this retirement plan, but I'm still paying too much in taxes and I'm still not saving enough money. So that meant that the person put a product in place, but didn't show them how to grow with their business. So they want to have an advisor walk them through these steps. And now it's to the point where I get clients who sit down and tell me, hey, listen, this is where we are. This is what we're going to do now. And they'll call me up and say, okay, I think we're ready to start doing to the next part of that plan. So get your squad together. But it's not just who is with you, it's who you should leave behind. I call them dippers and controllers, you know, that self-appointed family member who knows more than you do. The people who give you advice or money so they can have a say in your business, those are not who you want. And I hate to say it, unless they're part of your plan, avoid family members. And I say that because I know some very successful women business owners who do work with their family members. Barb and Maggie are a perfect example of that. But I also know some situations where you can tell that the family member wants to control the situation. And a lot of times it has to do with the borrowing of money and who is funding the situation. So when you borrow money, borrow wisely, and ask yourself, are they lending to control me? Are they a dipper or controller? Do I have to pay them back? And remember when we talked about that exit plan? You can't sell your family members and your friends along with your business. Well, you could, but it'd probably be a little bit awkward. So action step number 3, pull together your board of advisors and help them help you keep your goal front and center. Now, next question. When do you spend time on your business, on your family, and on you? I call this my baby in the airplane example. And you know how they say, you know, if the oxygen masks come down, first put it on yourself, then put it on the baby next to you. That's the same thing with your planning. Take care of yourself first. And that means protecting your assets, protecting your health, protecting your family. That also means taking breaks and exercising and doing those things that make you feel good. I come from fitness. And one of the things I used to always tell all my clients is work out in the morning. And this is the reason why, because if your day goes to hell in a handbasket, and sometimes they do, if you've done your exercise, you have at least done one positive thing for yourself in the day. Okay? This is a hard one to do. Set boundaries and make them be a part of your plan. And please do not fall on the sword for your company. Do not jeopardize your own personal or financial health for that of your company. It doesn't work that way. So action step number 4, Schedule your work week. Make sure you block time to spend on yourself and with those you care about. Okay, I can't see the chat, so if there's any questions that come in, please feel free to interrupt me. The next question, leading to the next action step, is how do you make your business sustainable? I like to say, look at your money daily. Look at your account balances and look at your budgets. A lot of women don't like doing this because they either don't know what they have or they're afraid of their situation. And this is especially if debt is involved. And I've made it a habit to look at my accounts every morning. Yesterday, I saw something out of whack and I immediately dealt with it and therefore avoided a situation that would have ruined my whole day. And sometimes those things happen. So what? So what happens if you have one of those days, you have one of those hits? Call on it right away. If you can't fix it, ask them to help you. And one of the things that it's real important is learn what things are really going to hit your credit reports and what are not. Because a lot of times we're really afraid of how something is going to snowball and it might not happen, it might not affect your credit at all. So ask the question, if you bounce a check, it does happen, call them up and say, hey, you know what, this is my first time, can we waive the bounce fee? They'll absolutely do that for you. Another piece is think million-dollar thoughts constantly. Yes, I'm a big fan of Rachel Rodgers and Barbara Hewson. So action tip number 5.5 is to read these books and find related content on Purse Strings and LeadHERship global websites. Remember, your business is an extension of you. If your business is doing well, so should you. So be selective in your clients. Saying no gets to that next yes faster. And when someone is selective and doesn't choose you, don't take it personally. Again, saying no gets to that next yes faster. So action step 5, do at least one money-making activity per day. Make it for example, make it a goal to follow up on a lead or set an appointment or do something that you know that's going to generate a paycheck tomorrow or the next day. Okay, now we're wrapping up. We're now at number 6, and is why work with someone like me? Well, to help you with a plan that considers your unique business strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to help you set and work towards benchmarks, to help you determine other professionals you may need to find and those who share your values, to help you delegate tasks that are not earning you money and give you time to spend in your business, and to help strengthen your money mindset. Oh, and last, to help you achieve your goals. So action step number 6 is rinse and repeat action steps 1 through 5. So they become etched in stone. So you're walking the walk and talking the talk. So full circle, we've talked about 6 actions you can take right now. Number 1 is, what is your end game? Put it down on paper. Put it down where you can see it every day. Number 2 is, where do you want to go? Plan your route. Number 3, who is with you? Assemble your board of directors. Number 4, ask yourself the question, when do you take care of yourself? Schedule that time. Number 5, how do you make it sustainable? Have a money mindset. And number 6, why do you need an accountability partner? To help keep you in your vision front and center. So I'm going to end with this, and I'm going to tell you before when we leave and end this conversation, go set an appointment with yourself. And then go set an appointment with me because I want to hear how it goes. I kind of rambled through that pretty quick. So is there any questions or is there anything I can repeat?
Peggy, that was great. I am super grateful for your the way that you've broken down really complex issues into really simple, understandable ideas and opportunities. So thank you. Thank you so much for offering these 6 steps, these 6 action steps to help us ensure that all of our businesses can stand the test of time. So what I would offer is just an open forum if anyone has any questions about, very specific recommendations that Peggy went over and you want to dig into those a little bit more deeply, or if there's anything about financial advisory services or anything about your financial structure or anything that you're thinking about in setting up your business or growing your business or scaling your business that you'd like to dive into a little bit more deeply. I mean, I got to tell you, Peggy has just laid out a beautiful roadmap, and I'd love to dive into as many details as you'd like about how to set up that framework financially. Emily, you usually have lots of questions. So do you have anything that you're thinking about in terms of setting up your business for success, even during challenging economic times, or in this case, at the beginning of your journey?
Yes, I'm still in the beginning of my journey, and actually nothing whatever was told today is new for me, but I'm happy to be here, to listen it again, to think about in this like order and clarity. And yes, I'm digging in this direction, what I can tell. I'm looking for financial support myself in what I'm doing. That's all what I can tell at this moment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Emily. And Elizabeth said, how have you been successful getting referrals? So for your business, very specifically, it sounds like, Peggy, Elizabeth is saying, what have you done to drive business as a financial advisor?
Okay, well, this is actually an area I'm very passionate about because I've tried everything. So I did the cold call. You get when you start in this industry, they actually they tell you to go into a meeting and hand a list of people that you want introductions to. So you go through their LinkedIn and hand that list to people. Well, let me tell you, that is not something that women like doing. I've also been a member of BNI, and I love BNI. I love the concept, but not every BNI group is equal. And what I found is, especially in financial services, that the good old boys club is, alive and well. And so when I would refer in, but I never got referred out. And how I've done it before is by working collaboratively. So I sit down and I have something that I can't do. Now, in the financial service industry, you don't refer somebody to, for example, you don't refer somebody to a property casualty agent. And you know why you don't? Because they sell life insurance. So they're going to steal your client. Well, I'm confident that they're not going to, because I'm doing the planning with the person. And B, I don't do P&C, but I want my clients to have a good experience and put the right things in place. I don't want them to put product in place. I want them to understand that. So I found a couple of female property and casualty agents, depending upon where the individual lives, that I know I can talk to, and they're not going to sell them product. They're going to sell them something that is part of their plan. And because of this, now that person knows who I work with, how I work with my clients, and they can feel safe that they can refer somebody back to me to do what I do. So, and also the same thing when I'm providing information on LinkedIn. I don't go about asking for referrals because but I'm very specific about who I work with. So I want the person thinking in their head, you'd be the perfect person for my friend. Oh, you know what? I just brought my dog to the veterinarian and they were talking about their situation. I told them they need to come and talk to you.
So in that case, it sounds like you're trying to be of service to people first before you ask for something in return. So first, it's being of service before you ask for a favor. And second, it's about being very clear about who your ideal client looks like and how you serve them. So it's being very clear about who you serve, making sure you're communicating that this is the audience I serve, and then being of service to the people in your referral network, really providing them value and hopes that they will think of you when they run across people that will use your services. Yes?
Exactly. And when you're doing that introduction, the other thing I like to do is explain exactly why. This is why I referred you. This is how you can help this person. And then they understand what your role is in that. So it's very clear and actually makes the referral feel good and feel like you're in good hands. You know, I know this person's going to help me. And so they're excited to start working with them. And it's really neat because you can actually go through a whole list of people, because then you start incorporating more and more people. And I'll tell you, that's how I found purse strings, was through working with people and getting referrals into groups and then saying, hey, have you talked to this person? You should talk to them. They're really good. They really know what they're doing. They've been very helpful. And that means that it's not just in the state of Washington. I actually have referrals all over the country now.
Yeah. And then Nita said, I had someone ask me last week when I should consider setting up a company. I said for separate identity and taxes, but what is your advice here for the US specifically, I suppose? When is the right time to literally set up the company separate from, you know, perhaps another entity that you may be associated with?
I think it has to be a little individual, tailored to what your business is, because there are some individuals practices who need to get that in place right away. It's like some professionally licensed attorneys, for example. They've got to get their business entity set up pretty quick because of the nature of what they do. Other individuals might need to tag into a group while they're building it, be part of for example, like be part of a chapter of a networking group or a mastermind group, and then use them as your board of directors until you set up your own business. And that's why having the plan in place, we're not going to do, you know, we can't sit here and say, today, this is what we need to do. We have to go through and say, what's your end game and how do you want to get there? Okay, so by this year, it'd be a good time to consider incorporating, and this is the reason why, you know, and sometimes even the difference between PLLC, LLC, S corporation, because I know a lot of people jump to even C corps, and it's like, why did you do that? One of the greatest ones was somebody came to me and their TPA said, go set up a SEP. And so she sat down with me and she said, my CPA said I needed to do a SEP. And I said, okay, how much are you contributing to your retirement right now? And she said, oh, about $200 a month. And I said, well, how much do you want to contribute to retirement? And she said, $200 a month. And I said, well, then maybe a SEP isn't quite right for you right now. Don't spend the money on a SEP. Let's get to the point where when you want to make 600 and so on. So it was believing in her vision, but really more walking through the process of when to do that.
Yeah, that makes all kinds of sense. Thank you so much, Peggy, for thinking about that, when to set up the company, and also all the different models that there are for setting that company. C Corp is not right for everyone. You're right about that. Okay, so what kinds of plans does a business owner need to be considering, perhaps as they're getting their business up and running, as they're beginning to really start that growth period, right? So it's perhaps before they've hit their first $10 million of revenue, maybe they're in the first $5 million of revenue. At that point, is that when they should start thinking about, okay, what is my end game? Do I want to own this company for 5 years? Do I want to own this company for 10 years? Who are likely partners, or who are likely strategic buyers of my company? When is the right time to begin thinking about that? And when is the right time to make that outreach?
It's actually at the beginning. So set your plan on what you want to go. Now, you don't need to necessarily outreach that, but you can't have a succession plan if you don't know who you want to leave it to. So build that plan and put it in place. And also say, build that foundation. So let's protect that $10 million you're going to make. And make sure you have the place that not only can you make it, but also when you make it, you know what you're going to do with it. Does that make sense?
Yep, that does. What about anyone else that has any questions about how to set up the financial structure for a business? You know, everything from pre-revenue all the way to the first 100 million. If you're pre-revenue, how do your priorities need to switch and change and migrate and evolve as you move towards your first million, 10 million, 100 million? So at the very beginning, pre-revenue, what should you be thinking about? And then as you begin moving into that growth stage of $1 million plus, how should your priorities change, Peggy?
Again, this is something that needs to be tailored individually and working with individuals, because a person who has a product that they're going to sell is going to have a whole different trajectory than somebody that has a service. So outlining that strategic path and benchmarks of where they want to be before they do certain things. So there's not one size fits all in that scenario. And meeting with this, that's why I said get the estate planning attorney, get the business partner, get the CPA, sit down at the table and say, okay, here's the plan. But again, starting with the end in mind, my ultimate goal is to sell my business. My ultimate goal is to, have somebody, get somebody in place. For example, my ultimate goal is to have somebody like me take over my practice. Now, I don't have that person in place, but I have the plan in place. And I've been interviewing, and how I've been interviewing these individuals is by working with them and doing some joint work with them on clients. And then they're the ones who I can come back and say, okay, we worked well together. And the great thing about that is that if it happens faster than I want it to happen, then I know who I can immediately tap into on that.
Okay, love that. Teresa asks, what about having partners in the business? What do we need to pay attention to if we have partnerships in the business that we're running, or we're considering bringing in partners? What are some of the considerations and the frameworks that we need to be sensitive to in that situation?
I'd say there's three things right off the bat. Number one, do they share your values? Okay. Number two, what role do they play in the business in terms of how do you complement each other? Are you bringing in this partner to be your devil's advocate? And number three is how much ownership do they want in at stake? Because a lot of times people like to ride on coattails, and you have to be very, put it down on paper and say, this is how we're going to work together, and be very clear in your intentions. And the same exercises that you do for the business, they need to do for the business. And a lot of those exercises you should do together.
All right, I see Maggie's hands up. So Maggie, do you want to come off mute and ask a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, when you're growing in a business and you're hitting the stage of just getting the business running to being able more and more to pay yourself, how do you find that balance of paying you always hear about paying yourself and pay yourself first, but you also want to throw all your money back into your company so you keep growing and can pay yourself more. So where do you find that balance, or how do you find that as a business owner?
That's a really good question. And I hear this all the time. And I go to that 401 when I'm starting to set up 401k plans for people. There's a benefit for paying yourself more. And then I'll come back and I'll sit down and I'll say, you only paid yourself $24,000 last year. What do you need to live off of? So really pay yourself the income that you should be, and also where someone like you who does what you do that earns. So structure it that way. Yes, we're very tempted to put it back in our business, but if you're smart about it and tap into, hey, maybe you need to tap into a small business loan. Maybe you need to go and talk to those organizations, because guess what? They like talking to women business owners. And there are a lot of lenders out there who are willing to help you with your business. So, sit down and talk about what do you need to survive? Because if you're only paying yourself, $1,000, $2,000 a month, then that's not sustainable. That's going to be a real big burden on you. And then later on, when we're talking about retirement savings and how much you can put in, and that's based on your earnings, then you can start having a conversation of, you know what, let's get it up. Let's get yourself up to paying yourself, let's get to that 6 figures. The only way you're going to make 6 figures is if you pay yourself 6 figures.
That's right. Really smart. Good way of thinking about that. Thank you. And then what you said, there are ways that if you feel like you can't afford to pay yourself 6 figures in the first year or two of your business, you said, there are alternative options. Peggy, you said there are lenders out there that would love to lend to women-owned businesses that have a really solid business plan and good financials. So talk to us a little bit about what does a business owner need to prepare to even have that conversation to say, okay, I do need an influx of capital to really develop this business, to grow this business, and what should they be ready to present to a financial institution?
They should be ready to present a financial plan. They should, and that is, and I'm not talking I'm talking a basic financial plan of exactly what we talked about. Setting up your plan, what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. I am a big advocate for SCORE, and SCORE has a subdivision called the women's business organizations or something like that. So there are groups in every area. There's also groups within your own organization or your own whatever you do that offer scholarships. One of the things that I found out in financial advisors, the CFP is giving scholarships to people of color and other marginalized communities. Well, I could pay myself $2,000, or I could get a scholarship. I can get a scholarship to cover the cost of that, so I can pay myself more.
All right, that makes sense too. Thank you. I love the idea of scholarships and also preparing a financial plan to bring to financial institutions that can help bridge that gap as you're beginning to grow a business, right? As you're pre-revenue, but on the cusp of creating that first, $1 million of revenue, paying yourself what you deserve. Moving forward, you can get that sort of bridge loan to that place where you feel a little bit more sustainable. That's so smart. Is there anyone else that has any questions for Peggy? All right, so Peggy, do you mind, just for a couple of the people that joined us a little bit late, just recap for us the 6 points, the 6 action steps that you outlined as a way of thinking through creating a sustainable business, even through the most challenging economic conditions and the most challenging, trying times?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first thing, and you just touched on that, and that is, find out what your end game is. Put it down on paper. Write, where do you want to go? Number 2 is, where do you want to go? Plan your route. The third thing is, who is with you? Assemble your board of directors, your board of advisors, your squad, whatever you call it. Schedule a time for yourself. ask yourself the question, when are you taking care of yourself and not just spending all your time in your business? And number 5 is, how can you make it sustainable? And this is thinking, having that money mindset, always be open to the fact that you can make money and you're good at what you do. And last and not least, but find an accountability partner. Find somebody who can help you keep your vision and follow your vision.
Yeah, those are all such great pieces of advice. I so appreciate that. Let me just call on a couple of people and see if you have any thoughts or questions before we wrap it up. Bridget, I would love to hear from you, and anything that strikes you as you're beginning your marketing consultation business. Is there anything that you're kind of wrangling with or thinking about right now?
First of all, I want to thank Peggy. The 6 tips are wonderful, especially the last one. I think we forget about the accountability partners, how important they are, because not everyone is in the same place that you are and is confronted with the same challenges, same fears, same struggles and hurdles that are out there, and accountability partners can feel with you and they can give you advice or can guide you, have your back, because they totally understand what you're going through. I think that is so important that you have people like that around you. Struggling with, it's most of all, very often, the money. Can I spend that much money? Is there the return that I hope for that investment? We should rather say investment. I think money has such a negative associations for people very often. And in the time that we are living right now, that a lot of businesses are online, are shifting towards online tools, is the challenge with all the software, especially as a solopreneur, to get familiar with everything, to get it running. Because for me, it's not so much about the speaking, of course, but it's also, am I doing this right? Is this how will that be the first time being out there working with the software? You don't want to be embarrassed and be a failure. I know that this is also something that we are not actually, because we are all learning and we are human beings, and it makes us a human to also have this setbacks. That is basically what I'm struggling with right now. And I also see where my place is. The longer I'm with our leadership community, the more I feel like I really wanna work with and for women. And that makes it becomes my passion. So I'm very happy about that. And thank you again for the 6 tips.
Can I put a thing, what I always say on that, because your mind does play that, and that's, don't beat yourself up, because that is something that institutionally, a lot of, you see it online, you see it in advertising, you see a lot of it. It's like, we're afraid to make a mistake. I'm a big Brene Brown fan. You're afraid to make a mistake because we think we're a loser if we make a mistake. And you sit there and you look at your male counterparts, and they're making mistakes all over the place, and they're like, "Oh, it wasn't my fault," So what it is to steal something from I think it was Robin Crane, dare to suck. So in other words, dare to go out there and dare to say, hey, you know what? I might not be the best at this, but I'm doing it. And if you want to help me, give me some advice, please feel free, and let's do it together.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. That's the way how we should think, right?
I love that. Thank you so much. That's really great. And Teresa, what about you? You're in the midst of running a business and starting another business. So do you have any questions for Peggy as it pertains to the business you're starting and the business you're running and everything else you're dreaming up?
I know. I have 2 boutique consulting firms, one geared for nonprofit fundraising, which is the one that I have a partner in. And we do have aligned vision on many things, not everything. So the thing that I've been thinking about over the course of the last year, which is why I started the second business, is do I really want to do this with a partner, or do I want to do it by myself? And the second business is really geared towards coaching leaders, business leaders, as well as individuals. And I love, because I think as women, one of the hurdles that definitely I have faced, but I think one of the hurdles is that we're afraid to step out and put ourselves out there, because it's so hard sometimes to be able to be heard and to be able to be taken seriously in our own organizations, whether we're working full time or in a business meeting or something, and to be brave to step out and to say, I may not be the best at this, I may not be the smartest at this, but this is what I think. And I loved your phrase, dare to suck. And I think that that's exactly right, because we do need to be brave enough to step up and to step out, because the only way that people are really going to understand and get to know us more closely, to Brene Brown's vulnerability statement, is really just to put ourselves out there and risk that vulnerability. But I think that that also helps us show that we're human and authentic and real, and that we've got really good ideas. We just have to be engaged, and we just have to be open enough to step out there. So thank you. I've really enjoyed this discussion. You've brought a lot of good things forward.
Thank you.
Lovely. All right, ladies. Well, I think that is a wrap. I want to thank again Peggy Haslach. She has done, I think, a really lovely job outlining the 6 steps that we can all take to ensure that our business can stand the test of time. And I want to thank all of you who are LeadHERship Global members, most of you are, for joining us here today. I am super glad to see everyone's beautiful smiling faces. So good to see you. And again, we have a power-packed September coming up. So be sure to check out our newsletter and sign up for our upcoming events. I do want to remind everyone of tomorrow's Refer and Recommend Exchange. This is an opportunity for all LeadHERship Global members to ask for what you need and to offer what you have to give. So in a confidential, safe environment, you can actually describe the biggest pain points that you're facing and where you need help from other LeadHERship Global members around the globe. All the generosity of LeadHERship Global will be right there at your fingertips. So join us tomorrow, Wednesday, August 25th at 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern, and 9 o'clock Pacific. Woo, did it. I need to start throwing in London time in that there too, Nita, for you. But anyway, thank you guys so much for today. Barbara, Maggie, thank you so much for this amazing partnership with Purse Strings. And Peggy, thank you for such a really impactful conversation. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your week. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll speak soon. Thank you so much.